Hello everyone, myself Dr. Narendra Kumar Singh, Associate Professor, Babu Banarsi Das University, Lucknow. Today the topic of our discussion is sources of impurity in pharmaceutical substances and limit test. So coming on, different sources of impurities in pharmaceutical substances. So first source for impurity is raw materials. The raw materials used for synthesis, used for formulation of uh, drug substances includes active pharmaceutical ingredients and excipients like binder, gradient, diluent, uh, some lubricants used for the manufacturing of the formulation. So if impurity present in active pharmaceutical ingredient or excipients, it get incorporated in the finished product. Active pharmaceutical ingredients are synthesized by any chemical process. So during their synthesis, a lot of side products are also synthesized, and these active pharmaceutical ingredients, if not purified sufficiently, then the side products present in active pharmaceutical ingredients enter in the formulation, and it it uh, contaminate our final products. Similarly, most of the excipients like calcium carbonate, acacia gum, material used for the coating of drug substances like HPMC, CMC, etc. All these have a small amount of chloride, arsenic, mercury, lead, iron, etc. So if these materials containing impurity and these excipients used in the manufacturing of drug substances, so impurity present in these excipients get incorporated in the final formulation, and therefore it contaminate our product. So excipients and active pharmaceutical ingredient used for the formulation of drug substances must be pure, and if impurity present in these substances, its limit should not be more than the limit prescribed by pharmacopoeias like India Pharmacopoeia, British Pharmacopoeia, and United States Pharmacopoeia. Some plant drugs, when these plant drugs are not harvested carefully, they include some sands, uh, earth matters, and dust particles. So when these plant drugs used for the manufacturing of any pharmaceutical products, these impurities present in these drugs raw material get enter in the final formulation. Sometimes if these plants grow on roadside where automobiles are running, so the fumes released by automobiles containing lead get incorporated in these plant drugs, and when these plant drugs used in the synthesis of any manufacturing of any formulation, so these impurity present in plant drugs get enter in the formulations. Sometimes when plant drugs containing moisture is stored, they develop some bacterial and fungal growth. So due to the bacterial and fungal growth, exudates of bacteria and fungi also incorporated in these plant drugs, and these impurities develop a serious health hazard for human being, and therefore the plant drugs, if used in the manufacturing of any drug substances, it should be carefully screened for their quality before their use as a ingredient. So all these are the impurities that are entered in the final formulation through raw materials. So, second source of impurity in pharmaceutical substances is due to the presence of impurity in reagents and chemicals used during the process of manufacturing of drug substances. Several examples are available which clearly indicates that impurity present in reagent enter in the formulation. For example, if H2SO4 is used as a reagent for synthesis of any drug substances, this H2SO4 is manufactured by a process called the lead chamber process. So, due to the manufacturing of H2SO4 by lead chamber process, impurity of lead incorporated in H2SO4, and if this H2SO4 is used in the synthesis of any drug substances, the lead present in H2SO4 get incorporated in the drug substances, and therefore it enter in the final formulation also. Sometimes if water is used in the manufacturing process, the arsenic, mercury and other heavy metals present in water get incorporated in the formulation also. So reagent used in the manufacturing of drugs must be free from these impurity, and if impurity is present, it should not be more than the limit prescribed by pharmacopoeia. Next source of impurity in drug substances is through manufacturing process. When a drug substance is manufactured, is passed through a different manufacturing process. It involves different containers of iron, steel, lead, sometimes plastic, etc. So the material of containers sometimes also enter in the drug substances. In industry, there are several processes which involves the movement of material from a hot tube. When a sample moves from a hot tube, the material at high temperature enter in the drug formulation. So when the material of the container that is used for the manufacturing of drugs introduce the a small amount of material of container, it get incorporated in the final product also. Sometimes if in a similar premise two or more drug substances are manufactured simultaneously, so dust of one pharmaceutical substance may in may get incorporated in the another, and vice versa. So the drug substances, if manufactured in a single premise, its unit must be separate from the other. Otherwise, mixing of two different pharmaceutical ingredients may cause the serious hazard for the human health. So next, fourth one, source of impurity is storage of finished product. After manufacturing, the drug substance is stored at a proper temperature and in a proper area where direct sunlight must not be reached. If drug substances is exposed to direct sunlight, it may cause the damage of the drug substances, and therefore some side product the chemical nature of the drug substances may change, which may cause the serious hazard. Sometimes, if drug substance is exposed to the air may cause the oxidation of the drug substances, and the oxidized drug product may cause some health hazard. So all these are the sources of impurity that incorporate the impurity in the final drug substances. So carefully examination should be performed for these impurity. If these impurity present, it must not be above the limit prescribed by pharmacopoeia. So to so in order to check the presence of impurity and their amount in drug substances, limit tests are performed. So limit tests may be defined as semi-quantitative or quantitative test performed to identify and to avoid the impurity presence in very small quantity of impurity presence in pharmaceutical substances. So now coming on the limit test of chloride. Limit test of chloride is based on the principle that when soluble chloride react with silver nitrate solution in presence of nitric acid, it reacts with silver nitrate react with chloride and form insoluble precipitate of silver chloride, which is white in color. So the color intensity of AgCl or intensity of opalescence or precipitate indicates the amount of chloride present in the sample. So in limit test of chloride, two Nessler cylinder taken simultaneously, one for test and another for standard. A standard solution which contains a known quantity of chloride solution is added, and in similar experimental condition, both Nessler cylinder added with equal quantity of silver nitrate in presence of nitric acid. So the turbidity produced in test solution must not be more than the turbidity produced in standard solution. So limit test is called semi-quantitative test because in limit test we determine the quantity of impurity present in sample, whether it is less than the standard or it is more than the standard. We are not here calculating the exact quantity of the impurity present in the sample, but we just compare the impurity present in the sample with standard. If the sample containing the impurity less than as compared to the standard, then our test sample passes the limit test of chloride. But in case where the impurity present in test sample is more as compared to the standard, then our test sample fails the limit test. So this is the principle of the limit test of chloride. Now coming on the procedure for the limit test of chloride. So as I have told earlier, two Nessler cylinder, one for test and another for standard, is taken simultaneously. In the test Nessler cylinder, a specified quantity of the sample is dissolved in 10 ml of water or as prescribed in individual monograph, and it is added with 10 ml of dilute nitric acid. Then the volume of solution in the test Nessler cylinder make up to 50 ml by using distilled water, and after 5 minutes it is added with 1 ml of 0.1 molar silver nitrate solution. Similarly, in the standard Nastler cylinder, 10 ml of standard chloride solution of 25 ppm is added, and then it is added with 10 ml of dilute nitric acid solution. Volume of standard Nastler cylinder maintain up to 50 ml with distilled water, and after 5 minutes 1 ml of AgNO3 0.1 molar AgNO3 is added. So experimental condition for both the Nastler cylinder is similar. The difference is that in standard known quantity of chloride solution is added, but in test sample we don't know whether the chloride present in the sample is what is the quantity of chloride present in the sample, but we just compare the intensity of precipitate produced after addition of AgNO3 in both test and standard. So if the precipitate developed in test Nastler cylinder is more as compared to the turbidity produced in the standard Nastler cylinder, then the test sample fails the limit test of chloride. But in case where the turbidity produced in test Nastler cylinder is less as compared to the turbidity produced in standard Nastler cylinder, then our test passes the limit test of chloride. So here we just compare the quantity of chloride present in the sample, whether it is less or more than 25 ppm in the sample. So that's why it is a semi-quantitative test. We here determine whether the impurity of chloride present in the sample is less than or more than 25 ppm. We are not here determining the exact quantity of the chloride present in the sample, and that's why it is called the semi-quantitative test. So this is the procedure for the limit test of chloride. बंद करो. So 25 ppm chloride solution that is used in the limit test of chloride is prepared by diluting 5 volume of 0.0824% W by V solution of sodium chloride with up to 100 volume with water. So 5 volume of this 0.0824% W by V solution of sodium chloride is taken, and it is diluted up to 100 volume with water. So this is the procedure for preparation of 25 ppm standard solution of chloride. AgNO3 solution of 0.1 molarity is prepared by dissolving 1.6987 gram of AgNO3, and it is dissolved in 100 ml of water. Actually, molecular weight of AgNO3 is 169.87. So if we have to prepare the 1 molar solution of AgNO3 1 liter, we have to dissolve this much quantity, this much gram of AgNO3 in 1 liter of solution. But here we have to prepare 0.1 molar solution of AgNO3. So the quantity of silver nitrate for 1 liter solution of 0.1 molarity is prepared by dissolving 16.987 gram in 1 liter. But here we have to prepare only 100 ml of AgNO3 solution of 0.1 molarity. So in this case we have to take 1.6987 gram of AgNO3, and it will dissolve in 100 ml of water. Then the solution produced with normality with molarity 0.1. So this is the procedure for preparation of the standard solution of chloride and AgNO3 used in the limit test of chloride. Now coming on the limit test of sulfate. Limit test of sulfate is based on the fact that when a soluble sulfate react with barium chloride solution in presence of any acid uh, white precipitate of barium sulfate formed so the turbidity produced by the barium sulfate is compared with the known quantity of sulfate solution taken in the standard national cylinder, and if the quantity of precipitate, or we can say the intensity of turbidity in the test Nessler cylinder is less as compared to the turbidity produced in the standard Nessler cylinder, our test passes the limit test of chloride and vice versa. So this is the basic principle behind the limit test of sulfate. Here the barium chloride reagent is used containing a small quantity of potassium sulfate. So sulfate, small quantity of sulfate is used to increase the sensitivity of the limit test, because a very small quantity of the impurity of sulfate present and the precipitate developed by the soluble sulfate with barium chloride is very less. In that case it is not visible clearly. So in order to increase the sensitivity of the this limit test, a small quantity of the potassium sulfate is also added in the sample test and standard Nessler cylinder. Another thing is that here ethanolic solution of sulfate is used because the in presence of ethanol prevent the supersaturation of barium sulfate precipitate. So presence of ethanol is necessary in order to stabilize the precipitate form of barium sulfate, otherwise it will be soluble in the water. So this is the basic principle behind the limit test of sulfate. Now coming on the procedure for the limit test of sulfate. Two different Nessler cylinder is taken in the limit test of sulfate, one for test sample and another for the standard. In the test Nessler cylinder, 1 ml of 25% weight by volume solution of barium chloride is taken, and it is added with 1.5 ml of ethanolic sulfate solution of 10 ppm. After 1 minute, 15 ml of the solution of the sample under examination is added in the test Nessler cylinder, or the sample may be dissolved as per the procedure specified in the monograph of the sample, and then it is added with 0.15 ml of 5 molar acetic acid. The volume of the content in the test Nessler cylinder is maintained up to 50 ml with water, and it is stand for 5 minutes. Similarly, in the standard Nessler cylinder, 1 ml of 25% W/V solution of barium chloride is taken, and it is added with 1.5 ml of ethanolic sulfate solution of 10 ppm. Then 15 ml of the standard sulfate solution of 10 ppm strength is taken, and it is added with 0.15 molar 5 ml of acetic acid. It is stand for 5 minutes, and then turbidity produced in the test Nessler cylinder is compared with the turbidity produced in the standard Nessler cylinder. Since here the turbidity produced due to the development of the precipitate of barium sulfate and the color of barium sulfate is white, it is always viewed transversely against the black background. So if the turbidity produced in the test Nessler cylinder is less as compared to the turbidity developed in the standard Nessler cylinder, our test passes the limit test of chloride. And if the turbidity produced in the test Nessler cylinder is more as compared to the turbidity produced in the standard Nessler cylinder, our limit test of our sample fails the limit test of sulfate. One important thing in the limit test of sulfate is that there are two different standard solution of sulfate is prepared. One of ethanolic sulfate solution of 10 ppm strength, and another of aqueous solution of sulfate 10 ppm. So the 15 ml quantity of standard sulfate solution of 10 ppm is used as the standard, but the ethanolic sulfate solution of 10 ppm is prepared and it is added in the test and standard both to increase the sensitivity of the limit test of sulfate. Actually, it is not the a standard sulfate solution. This aqueous sulfate solution is the standard one, and this ethanolic sulfate solution added in the both test and standard to increase the sensitivity of the limit test, because quantity of the sulfate is present in the sample and the standard is very less, and therefore the sensitivity of the test is not very remarkable. So in order to increase the sensitivity, of a small quantity of sulfate is added in the both sample and the standard. Another thing is that ethanolic sulfate solution is prepared because in presence of ethanol it avoids the supersaturation of the barium sulfate. Otherwise the solubility of barium sulfate is more, and when ethanol is added its solubility decreases, so ethanol stabilizes the barium sulfate precipitate. So this is all about the procedure for the limit test of sulfate. Now coming on the procedure for the preparation of standard sulfate solution 10 ppm. So standard sulfate solution 10 ppm is prepared by diluting one volume of 0.181% W by V solution of potassium sulfate in water, and it is diluted to 100 volume with water. The ethanolic sulfate solution 10 ppm is prepared by diluting one volume of 0.181% W by V solution of potassium sulfate in ethanol, and it is diluted up to 100 volume with ethanol. 5 molar acetic acid is prepared by diluting 57 into 5 ml of glacial acetic acid up to 1000 ml with water. Actually, any molarity of glacial acetic acid is prepared by just using the formula 57 into X, where X is the molarity that we have to prepare. So in this case we have to prepare the 5 molar glacial acetic acid. So 57 into 5 ml of glacial acetic acid is taken, and it is diluted up to 1000 ml with water. So this is the procedure for preparation of standard solution and reagent used in the limit test of sulfate. Thank you so much.